know what the number is. Do you guys
About
have
10 million?
that? No, it's more than that.
For the community projects, it's about 7.5, and for transportation projects, it's about 25 million.
Okay, yeah. So if you include the transportation projects that we have in there, it's what, 32?
Yes, yeah, approximately 32
A little
million.
over there.
And these appropriations, except for the Toberman piece, has already passed the House Appropriations Committee?
Correct. No, the House floor. The House.
That's House floor.
The chamber, yes. So it's already in the Senate side.
It's already in the Senate.
Correct.
Okay. Now, I presume that you have some projects that are in other states that are represented by Republicans.
The appropriations bills, yes, has Republicans in it as well.
Okay.
From all states, from everywhere.
And you have an idea of how many Republicans in the Senate are like on board with this appropriation?
Oh, I don't have any idea. We're not privy to that.
That's their business, not your business.
Well, no, it's not that. I don't think everybody's made their voices heard on whether they're supportive or not. I think there's generally a fundamental values difference on whether you invest money and help people in your community, and whether you should have the abilities to do that and not. And so there are some Republicans who believe this is wasteful spending, which I would say come out and take a look at what we're trying to do here in our community on helping women and children who need permanent supportive housing. Right, this money is going to help expand access to the services that they provide. And so
Right.
for me, that's kind of what I tell them.
All right, but those are the people that think that welfare is not the business of government versus the Democrats who are saying that the general welfare of the public is our business.
There are some people within the other party who believe that.
Right.
But there is support. I mean, if you take a look at the bill overall, you have a number of Republicans who also submitted community projects.
Right.
So it's bipartisan in the effort that.
In the House, it's bipartisan.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the Senate
Right.
bill. I don't know. There are people who have submitted projects on the Senate side. I don't know. I haven't looked at the list, so I can't really speak about that.
Yeah, we don't know what the score is yet, because we need to have how many? We need to have 10 Republican senators. To
You need 10
to
Republicans.
overcome this filibuster.
Yes, 60 votes.
Right. So we don't know quite what that looks like yet. And do we know when that will come to the Senate? And will there be a reconciliation or a compromise? If they approve something that's not quite what you do, it's got to come back to the House it's not reconciliation.
So the House has already passed
Right.
an infrastructure bill. Okay, so we've already passed our infrastructure bill and our appropriations bills.
Right.
They're in the Senate now, and so we're waiting now to see what the Senate sends back to the House.
Right.
And then that will determine whether we need to
Conference.
have a conference,
Right. And then
or whether do we just take what they send us, right? So we're in a waiting game, and we're on call right now. We can fly back to Washington D.C. next week if the Senate gets their act together and gets it all done in time before they leave for the August recess. So, and when I say August recess, everybody's in their districts working like I am here today. So it's a waiting game, and we will see what they have in their bipartisan infrastructure bill. And for us, House Democrats, we are not going to take that up until the reconciliation happens.
Right.
Right? And that's
Now,
going to tell us.
So you're on board with the progressive side of the reconciliation. We're not going to vote on the infrastructure until reconciliation is.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has made that very clear to us. That we are
And you're
not
on board with
touching that. Oh, yes.
All right. I think there's probably a lot of support for that.
I think there is.
But there is a hard deadline on this appropriation because it has to do with the October fiscal deadline. Right?
Correct.
It's October 1st is when the
funding.
federal budget cycles, right?
Right, it's the the annual federal budget, yes.
Most people don't understand.
But you could pass a budget and still pass the infrastructure bill separately.
Yes, but the appropriation.
There's not like a
bill-
hard deadline. If it doesn't happen by this day, it's not going to happen. I just want to make sure that
But the appropriations bill is actually fundamental to the annual budget, right?
Yes, the appropriations bills are correct.
And
And sometimes they'll, extend it for a couple weeks, right? Sometimes it just depends on the timing.
good. Anything else?
No, we're just really excited about this project, and I hope that you will highlight it.
Well, the other project on this street for the Lennox Clinic is that
Oh, yes.
building that's right over there
Right.
that's being built right now, which is another $1 million
Yes.
right here in the middle of San Pedro.
Exactly. And we were, looking at project. We got a lot of requests came in, and we looked at projects to say, what can we do to help expand access to care, expand access to housing, and help people in our community. And so when we saw the opportunity to fund a project that would expand a community health center, where when you think about it, the people who use community health centers are people who may not have access to health insurance, maybe they're economically disadvantaged, maybe they're homeless, right? And so we want to make sure to have those services available. And we know there's a need for care. Everybody needs to have access to health care. So until we can get to have universal health care, we're going to continue to push to include that. And that's what that project is. Yeah.
And what do you foresee as being the likelihood of getting Congress to pass a universal health care at this point?
I think that's a longer term bill. I don't think that's going to happen this year, next year. But I think it's something we're fighting for and continue to push. Even if we've got to do it in pieces, we're like, we say, okay, now we're going to have access to, dental and hearing and vision and pieces. It shouldn't be that way, but
that's the pragmatic approach.
well, it's the what can you get done and looking at the composition and the numbers. That's you can only do with the when you can count, right? The majority in the House and 60 in the
it's something
Senate.
completely off topic.
Okay. And then we'll probably have to run out
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I got to get the video, and then these ladies got to get to work too.
Nina Turner versus Miss Brown, is it, in the Ohio special election?
Oh yes, the high race, right?
Which side do you lean on with that?
Well, there's not a side to lean on. That election has been decided, and I'm going to welcome our new member of Congress and try to approach her and find out where we can work on issues together, whether it's on expanding access to health care or disparities in health. That's my objective and that's my focus, is seeing what we can work on. I have a lot of issues where I'm very progressive on, and I want to make sure to get as many people on board. So I'll be talking to her about those environmental justice initiatives and healthcare initiatives as soon as she gets to Congress. That race is not over, by the way, right? It's just a primary. The general happens in November, so.
But it's like, between the two of them, they had over 70,000 votes.
I know, but there's still a general election is what I'm getting at.
I know, and the Republican candidate, I think, got 1,700.
Right.
For all intents
Yeah.
and purposes, the election did. Fine.
Yeah, she wouldn't even be sworn in until like November, so we got a ways to go.
Okay.
Okay, thank
Great,
you.
Thank you very much.
All right.